Okay. Well, thank you all for coming. We're going to go ahead and get started now that we've talked about how hot it's been and the lack of watering that causes our plants problems.
Yes.
Heat, too much heat. So thanks again for coming and for your interest in learning more about the Endowed Chair Campaign and how to become a steward. Let's see if I just have a couple slides here. Yeah. So we really want this to be more of a workshop style thing for you. So I just have a couple slides and I'm going to hand it over to Shalane and Nick. But really my part in this is reminding you that we are wanting to raise $1.5 million for an endowed chair fully dedicated to the Master Gardener program. And that campaign success and having an endowed chair for our program would be like a game changer. And I stole that from somebody else. And I think it's a fantastic way to talk about how this success with this campaign will make a difference for our program. It will truly be a game changer that elevates our program in our state and nationally, the education that Master Gardeners will be able to offer as a result of having an endowed chair for our program. The visibility of our program will be raised. It will truly be a game changer. So the intent of this workshop, and I'm calling it a workshop because I'm really wanting it to be interactive. I think Nick and Shalane are on the same page there. We really want this to be more of a interactive space where we're not just here staring at the camera talking to you. We want you to when you leave here today, we want you to be able to explain the purpose of the campaign, describe the importance of the campaign and campaign success and how that success will be a game changer. We want you to be able to answer a variety of questions that a potential donor might throw at you. There will be lots. And we want you to know how to connect potential donors with the CAHNRS development folks. Or if you're willing and comfortable and have experience or not wanting to learn, be able to make and ask for support if that's something that you want to be able to do as well. And I have some tools here, and Shalane is going to go through them with you, but we're going to have some tools to share with you. We have the program spotlight, frequently asked questions document that we'll have available, talking points and tips for a conversation. We have some elevator pitch type talking points for you, potential conversation around pledge cards, and we have a QR code, and then we'll eventually have a website. We do have a website now, but it's going to be updated as these tools are rolled out and are available to you. So Shalane, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and hand it over to you and to Nick.
Okay, great. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to kick it to Nick to kind of talk about, just as a refresher, why we're doing this, why it's important for the funded endowment portion. In our last session, we had a PowerPoint, and I just kind of want to go back and just have a little reflective moment on that, and then we will, again, if I can get that out, there we go. Can everybody see this? I hope so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yep.
great.
We're looking at the actual slides, though, not the actual slide. Yeah.
Okay, here, let me get you a slideshow presentation from current slide. Okay. Okay, Nick, go ahead and take it away, and I will move us to our why this is important and working with WSU and CAHNRS and having this moment to kind of speak to the endowment and what the purpose of it is.
So I feel like Jennifer kind of hit this mostly on the head. The purpose is that this would solidify Washington State Master Gardener as the premier program in the country. There's no place else that would have an endowed chair like this. The upsides are you're going to be able to recruit the best faculty members in the country, because for academics, having a named endowed chair is incredibly prestigious. We've had, I guess, potato producers came together and did an endowed chair for soil health a year or two ago. And when we recruited the faculty member for that position, he specifically said that the named endowed chair is why he was interested. And without that, he's not sure WSU would ever made it to his radar. So those endowed chairs are just really big deals in academia. And real quickly to go over sort of how this would work on the money front. So let's say Jennifer calls me today and says, you know what? I've made all this money and I want to write you a $1.5 million check, and I'm just going to do it all on my own. So we would, process that check. It would go into an endowment account, and every year between 4 and 5% of that $1.5 million is going to spit out into what we call a spendable account. So that money would be for the faculty member to do any number of things. Now, it can go for salary support, but that's kind of a rarity in academia. Normally, it's for hiring grad students, it's for putting on programs, it's for buying equipment, it's for helping move research forward, and it would be specifically for master gardeners. So this, the way we set up this endowments are governed by what we call a gift use agreement, or GUA. And the most important part of our GUAs are uses and purposes, which basically lay out specifically what this money is to be used for. So you can see here are what the distributions from the fund can be used for. And as time goes on, that faculty member would then be writing reports about here's what he or she is using the money for, and we're going to be able to
Maynard.
We're going to be able to report back to you on what that money's been used for. So this is kind of a general layout of how we're going to go about raising this money. Actually, Shalene, let's skip to the pyramid. The next slide. As you might remember, here is your $1.5 million gift pyramid. So we need one gift at $375, one gift at $225, two at $150, and so on. So I'm just bringing this up because here's where you all come in. I've got a team of 4 fundraisers, and we're going to be out there meeting with people and talking about this. So it's not just me and Shalene, it's my entire team, trying to find the right people that want to give to this. But if we're going to be successful, it's going to be because of the folks on the screen. So what we need from you is, who do you know in your network that has some wealth, is generous, wants to give back? Either you can introduce them to us, we can have lunch with you together. Like, how that handoff works is really up to you, because you're the one that's got the relationship. And then I think the one other thing that I wanted to mention, so you've got individuals, but one thing that I do think we need to explore is what companies are out there that are making money on Master Gardener, whether that's green industry, chemicals. There are things that I know I'm not coming up with right now, but who out there is it in their best interest to support this project? And the problem with companies is that it's always hard to figure out, or it's always hard to get to a decision maker. So I think that would be the other thing that we need help with. What companies should we be approaching? And then how do we get in the door, and who do you know that works at some of these places? So I think I hit most of the high notes from the original presentation, and I think most of you all were here that time around. So I don't want to beat this dead horse, but I will pause. Any questions or comments right now? All right, Shalane, you want to give me a break and chat about this? As much as I love hearing my own voice.
Yes, I would love to. Okay, so we know that we're asking you guys to go out and have these conversations, and we know that you're not development officers. So we are hoping to kind of take some of that pressure off of you and kind of help go through some tools that we have in our toolkit that we've made for you to kind of maybe help you get through those conversations and some of those common roadblocks, the common questions that come up, and help you be armed with tools to be able to speak to this. And then at some point when if you're ready to make an ask with this person, you'll feel comfortable doing so. Or if you get to a point where you're ready to find out, or if someone's ready to give money, but you don't feel comfortable going through that process, we will then kind of talk to you about how we can connect them or connect those people with us. So kind of, Jennifer, I'm going to ask, would you like me to kind of start with our spotlight or our FAQ sheet here? Ooh, muted. Apologies.
I think the FAQ sheet maybe.
The FAQ sheet sounds great. Okay, we can start there. We'll hit them all, but we'll talk about all of them. So kind of in these situations, when you're getting into conversations with people, they really are just conversations. They're people just like us. For me, I know kind of as a new fundraiser, it's a little bit intimidating to kind of have these big conversations. But if you kind of remove the pressure from that, just relax, realize you're not begging or asking for charity. People give because they want to and because it makes them feel good, but we're finding a way to help to connect their passions for giving into the correct place where they want to donate, and show them what that philanthropic giving looks like. You know, we're talking to these people. Every one of you who is volunteers knows about the Extension Master Gardener program, and you're going to be talking to people who also know about it and are passionate about it. So you will have things to talk about. Kind of getting into this is just being prepared with knowledge about what the endowment looks like, how do we get there, what are common questions and roadblocks to be able to get through those conversations. So we like to, know a little bit about your donor, know a little bit about this person. Have they given to Master Gardeners before? Have they given to WSU before? If you don't know, we can look that up and we can find out. So if you have a potential connection with someone and you know them offhand, but don't know maybe some of the details, we do have ways to see if they have given before and to WSU or Master Gardeners. So, know the campaign's purpose, be able to explain why the campaign, what campaign success looks like and why it's important. And then we'll go over our kind of common questions and talking points and just be ready to answer those. And then also we like to just tell people, don't be concerned with saying, I don't know, or I don't have the answer, or I'm not sure, because people will absolutely be able to see right through that. And they are going to, they want to be able to have confidence in the person that they're speaking to. And if you don't know, just say you don't know. Connect with them again later, ask to follow up. And then if there's an opportunity to connect them back to one of us, use that as an opportunity to connect when you don't know. So here is Nick and I's contact information here on the bottom, and we will send all of you home with all of these documents that we talk about today too, so that you can have this in preparation before you going out and talking to folks. So when you're making the case, tell a story, tell your story about Master Gardeners and how you got involved. What is their story? Try to make those connections as if you were, meeting someone and wanted to be their best friend. What do you want to know about them? These are, connect on things that you know about. Mention your own commitment. Talk about, I'm, Shalane Foster. I've given, $100,000 to Master Gardeners, and I'm really passionate about this, and I want to see it be successful. And this is what an endowed chair looks like, and this is what it can do for the Master Gardeners program. Not just statewide, but nationwide. And then make a specific ask if you're comfortable. If you feel like this conversation is moving in a way where you feel like you can ask, you can say, what would a philanthropic, what would tongue twisted here. What would philanthropic giving to Master Gardeners look for you? What would you be comfortable with? You know, we have 5 years to fill this endowment and to fund this endowed chair. So what does a commitment of, you know, what if you pledged $5,000 for the next 5 years, you know, or $10,000 for the next 5 years? What would you be comfortable doing something like that? If you're not comfortable making a big ask like that, we do have other opportunities. You know, you can provide them a giving link that gives, you know, takes them directly to our giving page where you can give directly to the Endowed Chair Fund. You can give them, I will show you, we have a QR code. We're going to try to be putting this on a lot of our documents so that they can hover right over that with their camera, and you can even walk them through it with how to make that donation. If those don't work, we also have pledge cards to kind of fill out, you know, their name and their information, and then that pledge card comes back to us. However, our preference as development officers is not necessarily a pledge card, but make that introduction to us so that we can have that personal conversation with them as well. And then we can go from there in making a very educated ask and finding out the depths of their giving, what they're comfortable doing. And again, that might not be something that all of you are comfortable with, but it certainly is something that we are. So we would be happy to do that for you. Okay, so then I'm going to kind of go into, so this is our, I'll kick this one over to Nick. We'll go back and forth here. So this is the Endowed Chair Campaign, and these are some frequently asked questions that we get, that Jennifer has gotten, that everybody has seen, and they're really great to be able to speak to. And then if any of you have any other questions that are not on this FAQ, that's great to have also. But just remember that, you know, this is a conversation. You're gonna mess up, maybe it's not gonna be perfect, and that's okay. Being human is a lot more personable and easier to connect in admitting when you're wrong or that you don't know. So but you guys are going to know a lot about this program and be able to speak to it with other people who know about it and want to be involved. So I'll kick it over to Nick for some frequently asked questions.
All right, and I'm glad this one's at the top, because I left this out of sort of why should individual folks involved in the Master Gardener program fund this. This is, you know, this is not 1985 anymore. I wish it was, because at that point the state was funding higher education at a reasonable level. WSU had more resources than it does today, and you know, if this was 40 years ago, we could potentially ask the state for funding of this position. But things are vastly different today. While we certainly have plenty of faculty positions throughout the college, what individual donors can do is, if individual donors like yourselves invest in this, that's putting a marker down so that WSU knows this is important to our constituents, and the focus on Master Gardeners the Master Gardener program will last into perpetuity. You know, you may be familiar with the tree fruit research, or the tree fruit endowment that was a $27 million gift maybe 7-8 years ago. That funded several endowed positions. Like I said, potatoes has one, grain has one. I'm sorry, the Green Commission has multiple endowed chairs. So, you know, if this is important to you, the way to make sure WSU focuses on it, unfortunately, it's through money. I wish that wasn't the case, but it's the situation that we're in today, and not just WSU, but this is throughout the country. So who is in charge of the endowment and the distributions? At the end of the day, it's the Dean of CAHNRS, but that administrator, whoever it is going to work with whoever is in Jennifer's chair to figure out how to spend that money effectively and efficiently. And that is the way it's going to be. So this is an endowment, and this is an endowment. This will live on in perpetuity. And the way the funds are administered will be jointly. I mean, The dean has signing authority, but that dean is always going to end up working with the person in Jennifer's position to make sure money is spent effectively. What
For the
happens if,
Master Gardener program, right? Right, Nick? It can only
yes,
be
for, yeah,
for the
yes,
Master Gardener program. Nothing else.
nothing else. Absolutely. That is in stone. Absolutely nothing else. What happens if we don't reach our goal within 5 years? Basically that money will revert to a spendable Master Gardener fund. So again, whoever's in Jennifer's chair will work with the dean and have a plan for spending that money down over the next several years. It doesn't have to all be spent in 1 year, but the way we wrote this gift agreement is that if we don't hit that goal by the 5-year mark, all of the money still goes to Master Gardener, full stop. You know, I can't make any promises, but I'm guessing if we hit the 5-year mark and we are $250,000 shy, I think we can make the case that we should, like, I would suspect that deadline is a little flexible if we're close towards the end. Will volunteers have any say in how the distributions are spent? In short, not officially, because donors can't have any say in how money's spent. That being said, volunteers are going to have relationships with staff members, the dean, and who's in, like, there are going to be informal networks so that what's needed on the ground is going to make its way up to the dean so that this money again is being spent effectively. But we can't allow donors to have a say in how the money's spent, because then we run afoul of IRS issues, and nobody wants that. You guys don't want that, and I don't want that. What happens to Jennifer's position? Absolutely nothing. The way this has been written is that this is a both and. This isn't a replacement for Jennifer's position. We're not going to be out there raising money
Okay.
and, you know, hire someone and then Jennifer's position goes away. That is not what's afoot here. Oh, because Master Gardener is so decentralized, I totally understand why people would want to give locally. I know that is really important to a lot of folks. The reason we would like everybody to give this one thing for the next 5 years is that I feel like this is your chance. This is your shot to really make a big difference. You know, this isn't we're not asking anybody to change how they would give in the past or how they would change. We're not asking anybody to change how they give permanently. This is a short-term campaign. It's in the next 5 years. Like, we need to get this thing done. And then once we hit this $1.5 million mark, you know, moving that back to your local, the local office, extension office, whatever it is, that would be great. But this is really important in this moment. Let's see. Gifts, of course, are tax deductible. I don't even know what to say besides that. Yeah, all gifts to the foundation are tax deductible. And then the rest, I think, is mostly about how folks could make a gift. Oh, gift fee stuff. Oh, and I guess it's worth mentioning, while cash is wonderful, the foundation can take dang near anything of value. So whether that's required minimum distributions from IRAs, real estate, we can take gifts of grain if you're a grain farmer. I mean, literally almost anything of value we can take, and we sell it immediately and use that money, use that to fund the endowment. Let's see. Gift fees, and this is something I am more than happy to be super upfront about because it comes up somewhat. So every gift that comes into the university is hit with what we call a 5% gift fee. And that means, so if I gave $100, $5 basically goes to the foundation. and that's to cover processing, accounting, all the things that come with running a financial operation. It's my salary and travel, Shalane's salary and travel. So effectively, it's an investment in more fundraising. The other thing that you might not be aware of if you're not within higher ed. So for grants, that tax, the WSU tax, can be like up to 50%. So while 5%, we're taking 5%, a 5% cut, it could certainly be a lot worse. And if you talk to donors, occasionally you might hear stories, well, the Humane Society doesn't tax their gifts, or like whatever nonprofit. Well, 100% of my gift goes to fund what I want. That is not true, because every nonprofit organization has overhead. They have professionals that have to be paid. So we are just, and higher ed is typically just a little more upfront, that we take a haircut on gifts to fund our own operations. And Jennifer came off mute, and I feel like I'm at a good stopping place.
Oh, I've been off mute. I think Shalane was wondering, I'm wondering if now's the time that we're going to sort of model this, or maybe we should ask for questions first.
I'm fine with either kind of going through kind of some structured talking points and kind of talking about like kind of how we set up these conversations. And then if Nick and you, Jennifer, want to kind of take it away and lead us through a little, put him in the hot seat and see how a little mock situation kind of goes, I would love that. Okay, so I was sharing my screen and then I took it off. So let me jump back on here. Okay, so in these conversations, I think it's really important to, one, you're sharing a common space. So you're really just getting to know this person and finding the commonalities that you can speak to, that they can speak to, and then just kind of dialing in your conversation to see, how passionate they are. Are they able to give? What does it look like? So we kind of set up some sample conversation starters and structure just to kind of help you give an idea of how we kind of go through these conversations with our donors. So a lot of what we do, we like to ask, what is your personal connection to Master Gardeners programming? Can you tell me about it? You're going to learn a lot about that person in their involvement, in their volunteering. Do they hold a role? Are they involved with their local extension? What does that look like? You'll be able to kind of speak to all those things and kind of hone in on a direction. Like I said, these are just kind of structures for sample conversation. It does not have to go this way. All donor conversations, be prepared for them to go on a tangent, go on a different direction. They more than often go in different directions than staying fairly structured. So then, kind of another way you can progress kind of to an ask, or to whether or not they are wanting to give philanthropically. How do you see the impact of Master Gardeners in the community, in your community? What have you seen? What would you like to see be done better? Do you have any ideas about how to share the impact of the Master Gardeners program and how it has affected the state, your community? Where have you seen those? What are, and then these are things that, take note of these things, because these are great things to report back to us, and knowing and to extension, knowing what we're doing right, what we could be doing better, what communication are they receiving or are they not receiving? Do they know about these things? So this really helps us in understanding, do we need to market a little bit more? Do we need to reach people in different ways? So you're really learning a lot about how, what is the knowledge of Master Gardeners beyond just common knowledge, or beyond just what they've been involved in? What else do they know? And then, kind of an easy way to kind of walk into this is that, for us, at least for development officers, people know that we're coming and they know that we're asking for money. So it's easier for us to kind of say, how would you like to personally see your, leave your mark or leave your stamp on the Master Gardeners program? What can you do? What would you like to see? You talked about impact and how to impact the Master Gardeners program. What I'm hearing you say is X, and what we need is philanthropic engagement to be able to fulfill these things and to make the Master Gardeners program impactful. So how would you like to contribute to that? How do you foresee your, your personal contributions to Master Gardeners looking? And then, you're really going to get an idea of kind of where they're at financially, what they're passionate about, what they know about Master Gardeners, what do they need to know more about. At this point, you kind of will arrive at a point where it is either very obvious that this person is like, I'm bought in, I want to donate, I want to give to some capacity. They may have a number in mind, they may not, but they may need to think about it a little bit more. So at that point, you can say, it sounds like you're kind of on the fence, but you seem like you really want to engage and donate. I would like to give you, I'd like to leave behind some of these things to look at and consider, but I'd also love to connect you with one of our development officers, Shalane or Nick, and kind of, continue to explore this conversation. Or you're going to come to a point and you're going to realize that this person is involved in Master Gardeners. They like being a volunteer, they like being a participant, but maybe they just don't have the large financial contributions that we're looking for. But that doesn't mean that they can't still give. Yes, would we like $25,000? Absolutely. But, there are people that say, I can't give $1,000, but I can give 500. That's great. We can sign them up to give $500 a year. We can sign them up to give at any level that they are comfortable with. It's just getting an idea of what they want and then connecting them with us is the biggest piece and the biggest takeaway here if you're not comfortable making that ask. However, if you do get to a point and they're like, yes, Jennifer, I'm ready to give you $25,000. What do I do? Then you say, you know what? I'm going to hook you up with Shalane. She's going to get you all set up. We're going to get your pledge agreement. We're going to get, we're going to get all of this stuff set up for you. You will be receiving information about the Master Gardeners endowment and the impact that it's made. We will be putting you on our list, and then it's just stewardship from there. But these are great ways to start into these conversations, get to know these people, connect with them on a level that you have commonalities with, and then just guiding the conversation to see if they are willing and able, or at what capacity they can donate. Beyond that, if you are not comfortable with an ask, we just want to make people aware of what is happening in the Master Gardeners program and spreading that awareness and sharing it with other people. And if they themselves are not able to donate, but they know other people, making those introductions and spreading the word and the impact of what this program can do is our main goal here, aside from raising $1.5 million. So, we want everybody to know about the Master Gardeners program. So one thing I did want to pull up here is our spotlight, and forgive me, I'm trying to find it. I don't think I have it readily pulled up here. Give me 1 second. Unless Jennifer, you by chance have it offhand.
Yeah, I can pull it right up.
Okay, if you can pull that up, that's great, and then I can speak to it. Thank you so much, I appreciate that. I have 19 tabs pulled up here that I'm speaking to. Thank you. So this is another piece. This is the Master Gardeners program. It's our spotlights. So it gives, this is something that you can take with you and leave behind. We as development officers really love, we talk about a lot, and we're talking about a lot in this meeting specifically. So this is really great to kind of have on your person, be able to speak to. This gives you, empowers you to speak to the impact that having an endowed chair for the Master Gardeners program is going to do, what it has already done, what are our strengths, what are our priorities, and you can leave this behind with your business card and say, or leave my business card behind with this, you can do that as well. I'm fine with that. But it gives you something to speak to, and then they can walk away, give this a little bit more thought. They can visit the Master Gardeners website. There's information on how to get involved and how to connect with Jennifer, and then how you can also support the Master Gardeners program and where you can donate. So these are really great pieces to have with you, to be able to speak to and then leave behind with people. And then the biggest piece of all of this is, we're making these connections and we're talking to these people, but the biggest key to our work is follow-up. And once you have these conversations with those people, is following up and saying, you know, hey, we had this really great conversation. I would just like to see, you know, how you're feeling after our conversation. Is there any, you know, kind of, is there anything that I can do? Is there any more information that I can provide for you? Is there someone else that I can help, you know, that you would like to speak to? Or are you ready to make your donation today? So that's kind of all I have kind of at the moment. And then I'm going to turn it over to Jen and Nick to kind of give you a little mock situation for what these conversations kind of look like. So we've armed you with tools, the spotlight, the FAQ, we have talking points, we have all of these materials and resources available to you, but now you're going to get a firsthand experience in what it looks like to have that conversation with our Senior Director, Nick Dulce. So take it away. I hyped you up. You better deliver.
I'm a little nervous. This is off the top, y'all. I mean, this has not been. I have no idea what he's about to say to
This
me.
is not.
And the other thing is, I always feel like this role playing stuff is so weird and awkward with especially with people you know. So we're just gonna do the best we can here. But you know, before we jump into that, let's pause. I feel like we've thrown a lot at you all. Any comments, questions? I would love to make this more. Deborah.
Yeah, so one of the questions I have is, as a development team, I presume you always prefer to get a full gift right up front, but you've talked a lot about pledges. So can you talk just a little bit, because for those of us that are new to this or for the ask, how do we help, you know, the people we're asking understand the difference between those, and then how do you manage it? Or what do we need to be prepared to tell a potential donor?
So I love talking about pledges, and because there's not many people with like just tons of money laying around they need to get rid of. I want somebody, instead of writing me a check one day, I want people to think, you know, we do 5-year pledges here at WSU. Let's talk about that 5-year time span. I don't think about what you can do in this moment. What do you think you can afford to do over that 5-year period? And then we basically, you just, we've got a pledge form that says, you know, Nick Dulce is going to give, let's say, $5,000 over the next 5 years. And I want that to be annually, quarterly, monthly. And then we can set it up so that the foundation sends you pledge reminders, especially like that's a good idea with an annual pledge, because by the time December comes around, there's a million things coming at you, and just having that reminder that says, hey, Nick, remember you said you would give us $1,000 this year, and now it's time for you to pony up. They're written much more kindly than that, but it's just a reminder to get people to write the checks. So yeah, I think focusing on getting people to understand, like, we don't need a dime today. It's about what can you do over a number of years. And the other thing to keep in mind with pledges is that these are not legally binding, or I don't think they're legally binding documents. It doesn't matter. Like, WSU is never going to come after you for an unfulfilled pledge. So if you sign a pledge form that says, you know, you're going to do this $1,000 a year, and for whatever reason you become penniless and you just can't afford to do it, we write down the pledge, which basically means we just acknowledge, like, this pledge is not going to be fulfilled. You don't have a black mark on your record. We have boatloads of unfulfilled pledges every year. It's just the nature of fundraising work.
Thank you. So just follow up real quick, for an endowed campaign like this, I mean, what percentage of the pledges don't come to completion? Is it a very large number?
Can I jump in here?
Yeah.
I worked at the Carson College prior to this, and I worked in stewardship, and it is not as often as you would think that pledges don't become fulfilled. A lot of the times when people are, they know they're making a pledge, they know they're making a commitment over a 5-year time span. There are those instances where it doesn't happen, that someone either has had situations in their family or they're financially, held up or something happens. The foundation is really good about working with people in those situations, but it's not as often as you see that, because people are, financially savvy and do plan that out. But, life happens and things happen. And so there are things that we can do to work with our donors. But yes, it's not, I wouldn't, at least in my experience, I wouldn't say that I have seen a lot of unfulfilled pledges. But the foundation does work with you if there is kind of any kind of holdup or something for any reason that you might not be able to fulfill that.
So I appreciate
that
that.
help?
Yeah. You're looking to this team to help you identify some of those more deep pocketed donors, but it also occurs to me, given what we know about our Master Gardener community, is we have a lot of people that don't have a lot of money, right?
Right.
But if you ask them to do $10 a month, for the next year or 2 years, I mean, that can be significant if you spread over this large number of volunteers, right? And I think we should not overlook looking at those small donors and finding ways to make it palatable to them to make smaller contributions that are still
Right.
going to be meaningful in the big picture.
Absolutely. And we can absolutely make those pledges and those arrangements for if they want to do monthly withdrawals, quarterly withdrawals, biannually, once a year. We can work with whoever, we can work with our central foundation to do that at whatever interval they would like and at whatever amount they would like. Yes, we would like the 5, 10 huge donations over a 5-year span, but we do understand that, these situations, not everybody has as deep of pockets, and we are wanting to be very inclusive, and every dollar does count. So if there are situations in which someone wants to give $500, every year, we can make that happen. Does that help, Deborah? Did I answer your question well? Okay.
I think that's an important piece of campaign success here, because we have an established base of people who are passionate about Extension Master Gardener volunteering and the difference that we make in our communities. And I think we need to have a way to give everybody an opportunity to participate financially, at least the opportunity, right?
Absolutely. And I think Shalane mentioned, this is on one of the documents that Shalane mentioned, is so when I'm talking to a donor, that as the course of the conversation goes, I can tell, like, this person just doesn't have the wherewithal to write me a $5,000 or $10,000 check. So we're below that threshold. I love to use my own personal experience as a way to explain how pledges work. And I tell them that, if you ask me to write a $500 check, oh boy, that would be hard. That's a lot of money. But if you break that down over a year, it becomes much more palatable. So the way I give to my alma mater, and WCU for that matter, it's all through monthly gifts, because I know I'm never going to miss that 10 or 20 bucks out of my paycheck, or that they take automatically out of my bank account. But if you were to ask me to write a check for $240, I would pause like that. When you look at it that way, it's way more money than it is if you can get people to give every month. So I think for those annual level, the under $5,000-$10,000 donors, if we can get folks to sign up for an automatic monthly gift, people are going to keep coming back. They typically don't stop those gifts, and it's a good way to engage folks on like the grassroots level.
All right, Nick, let's do a little role playing here and see what comes of this.
Oh boy. Okay.
I still have more questions.
So typically I would get started, and I'm assuming, Jennifer, like, I don't know you, first time we're meeting. And actually, here's a scenario. I've gotten to know Tana, and Tana is a friend of yours. So you know that we're connected through Tana, and that's about all I know coming in. So sitting down to lunch and do some general rapport. Hey, where are you from? That kind of stuff. Why are you a kook? Give me the whole, how did you end up in this chair? Where you're from, where do you go to school, all that stuff. So, Tana connected us because I know you really care about the Master Gardener program. Why? Like, what is your path here? Why are you interested in this?
Oh my gosh. Well, I grew up working alongside of my grandfather, who was a horticulturist and in the garden growing up when I was a little girl. And I always enjoyed being outside working and and also grew up, our property abutted Seattle watershed property. So I was always outside in the woods, playing there when I had the opportunity to do that. So I just have a love of nature, love of outdoors, and environmental stewardship is important to me as well. Always has been. My undergraduate work at the UW, I was a Husky. I'm a Husky. I have all my Husky gear around me. This is my but I have my undergraduate work was in nonprofit management with a minor in environmental science. And long story short, when my husband and I moved back stateside from being overseas for a while, I wanted to go back to work part-time, and I noticed WSU Extension in the local county was hiring for a Master Gardener program coordinator, and I applied and I got the job, and the rest is history. It feels like I am in the position I'm meant to be in, and I feel lucky to be in it. I get to marry my passions of people and the environment into one space.
So what I heard there's the environmental part of it, but I'm reading between some lines, and what I'm hearing is like leadership, mentorship, like those kinds of things. So then my next question would be, so I heard in there, it sounds like leadership and being able to teach other people and learn yourself seems like, am I hearing that? Like, that seems important to you? And if I'm walking down the wrong path, or if I'm walking down the right path, give me an example of something that in your time working with Master Gardener, like that's really been impactful.
Wow, you guys are going to get me pulling at the heartstrings already, Nick.
See, this is how it works.
Yeah. So, the first thing that came to mind really doesn't have anything to do with gardening or environmental stewardship. It's about the volunteers raising me up and raising my family up, raising my 4 kids up to who they are today.
It's beautiful.
I mean, I wouldn't be here without the volunteers, and my kids wouldn't be where they're at without the volunteers in Chelan and Douglas County that made such a difference in their lives.
So you just
4 kids, 3 engineers, and 1 biochemist. I mean,
that is amazing. Wow. So they all have a passion for education, is what you're saying.
Pretty crazy.
Yes, I love that. That's awesome.
So that's
I feel like you just threw red meat to a fundraiser, because now I'm going to come back with, that is really amazing, and it works, like it ties so well into really everything we do at WSU, but specifically the Master Gardener program. I don't have to sell you on how important this is. Like, this is impacting your life. I can tell you want to impact others' lives and get them out working with the soil and learning the lessons that you've learned over the years. And look, I'm a fundraiser, I care about this stuff too. And the way we're going to hit this, assuming by now we've talked about the goal and why it's important and things like that. But the only way we're going to hit this goal is by everybody pulling the weight that they pulling their own weight. And, I've got to ask you for something today. And I'm not going to ask you for anything specific, but what I want to do is plant a seed. And I need you to think about what you would want to do. Number one, if you want to contribute to this goal. Two, like, give me an idea of what you're thinking over the next 5 years. And we've got to raise this $1.5 million. We need at least a handful of donors that are willing to do 6 figures over that 5-year period. I realize that is a boatload of money.
Yeah, 4 kids in college, probably not.
But if 6 figures isn't within what you can do, come back to me. Like, you tell me what you think you want to do over the next 5 years. And the way that we do this at WSU is we have a 5-year pledge. So I don't need anything right now. This is just a general outline of what we're going to expect from specifically you, but I'm asking everybody else to do this too. So we're going to figure out how much we're going to have coming in over the next 5 years. And that'll give us a sense of how much more do we have to raise. And then I would talk about how pledge forms aren't legal, like it's not binding. It's just a way for us to plan our finances over the next 5 years. So, I just think about that. I tell you what, I don't need an answer today. I will give you time over the weekend to sort of roll this around and follow up with an email on Monday. And, let me know what you think. We would love to have your involvement. And Jennifer, you've been so generous to the Master Gardener program, both with your philanthropy and with your service. Look, if now is not the time, I understand that. What you've done for this in the past, we deeply appreciate. We're just trying to give everybody the opportunity to play a role in this, however it works for their interests and finances. So that is
I have a question.
go ahead. Mhm.
So, the tax laws have changed. We don't necessarily itemize our taxes anymore. We don't have the write-offs to be able to do that. My husband has a business though. And we've talked about how we might be able to donate to this campaign through that, so we could actually benefit from some of the tax breaks. How does that work? I don't know, just trying to throw something at you.
Sorry, my phone rang and it cut my earbuds out. So how you can give through a business?
Yeah.
Okay. I am far from a tax expert, so I can't give you specific advice, but we have an Office of Planned Giving. I would either have you should talk to your accountant about how this would work. We can absolutely take checks from businesses. So if it's advantageous for you to give through the business, we are more than happy for you to do that. But I can't offer tax advice because everyone's situation is so unique, and I am utterly unqualified to give you any sort of advice.
Good answer.
Now, if you were to say, I've got some stocks that let's say if you were like 80 and I've got these stocks that I'm probably not going to need. Can I give stocks? My answer would change slightly. And I would say, we've got an Office of Planned Giving here at the university, and they are experts in how to accept non-cash gifts. I am not the expert in that area. There are specific tax issues when it comes to giving non-cash gifts. So I would love to get you together with my colleagues over in our Planned Giving office. That way they can ask all the questions they need to ask so that you are doing this in the most tax advantageous way.
Okay. Well, thanks, Nick. I'll roll that over and look forward to your email.
So sorry, like I said, that was an incredibly abbreviated version, but that really is basically how it goes. I try to ask like probing questions to get people to think. And there's a certain look on people's faces where I realize I'm like, yeah, I asked the right question. There's this pause, and they start doing the math and they start reminiscing in their head, and you can just see it happen. And you realize that you you landed on something that's probably going to be really important.
I was gonna try to be like not so easy, but it's too hard.
No, okay, but what I will say, Jen, is that I have never heard your Master Gardener story. And so that is beautiful. And that you have 4 children who were brought up in the area and benefited from it so much. Like, those are heartstring stories that people want to hear, and they connect with those. And people who connect with that and, you know, a purpose and a reason to give, and they feel that passion and connection with you and with the program, people are far more likely to give in situations like that than just to give for some arbitrary reason. So, I mean, these connections are so personal and so like deeper than just that superficial conversation. So this is where you really learn a lot about people, and you can really dive into those things. So you guys are our boots on the ground, and those folks that know how to kind of dive into those little corners that maybe we wouldn't be as good at. And Susan, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, so a lot of times, you know, if I ask somebody about this, maybe giving to this program, a lot of them say, well, I'd rather it go to our local foundation and keep it here within our community. So what would you say to that, Nick?
I would say, you know what, if you want to give to your, if you want your philanthropy to stay local, that's wonderful. We really appreciate you giving to the Master Gardener program, whether it's the statewide, local, it doesn't matter. Your money, your philanthropy is so valued. But in this case, we are making this push statewide because if we can raise that $1.5 million, that is going to do incredible things for this organization statewide. The local offices and organizations are super important, but this is a short-term campaign where we're asking everybody statewide to get behind this one thing for the next few years. Jennifer, I feel like I'm missing some points.
Well, and it will ultimately benefit the local office, you know, much more in the end than, you know, by working together, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. By working together, the local offices will see a benefit that is far greater than they're seeing now by keeping the money local. That's a good one too, Tana. She said, I mean, that was an example, but that's, so Tana said, you know, the campaign has a direct impact on our local program through curriculum, science-based horticulture practices, and cutting-edge research. In addition, faculty chair can connect us with a wide range of information nationally. That's an
beautiful.
example.
That's great. I like that answer, Tana, a lot.
It leverages our local programs in a way that can't happen now.
Yeah, I agree. I think that if I'm reading this right, I think that that's the perception that we're really going to battle changing. Am I wrong?
Mhm.
It's just that perception of, I want to fund locally. Why would I do this here? And I think it's just really being able to emphasize and speak to that it's, you know, the sum of the greater parts making a whole, or however you said that, Jennifer, was beautiful. I did not, but
Well, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
that's it. Thank you. All right. Does anybody, so at this time, I think that we're kind of, we gave you all of these resources that we have. We gave you a little mock interview, a mock kind of situation, tools for you to leave behind and be prepared, connections and ways to connect back to us. Is there anything that we could have possibly missed, didn't consider, haven't thought about, or any other questions that we can answer to enable all of you to go forth and prosper in big and impactful ways? A silent screen is a good screen. Oh, Tana, you're on mute.
You're
Oh, still on mute. There we go.
This has been really helpful, especially I had kind of put in the back of my mind the idea of contributions over time
Mhm.
or contributions people might make from estates. And I think those are important tools for this campaign as well.
Absolutely.
So Shalane and I are gonna get together in the short term here. She will be at the state conference in September. So she will be there to have conversations with folks and start to meet people. So that'll be good.
And the official sort of public rollout of this begins at the state conference this year or beginning of next year?
Let Nick and Shalane answer that.
I'm sorry, ask that again. I was reading the chat. Ask that one more time, Deborah. I apologize.
Sure. No, that's okay. So I was just wondering if when do we end the quiet phase? When does this become a public campaign? Is it at the AEC this year or beginning of next year?
Ooh, good question.
Probably beginning of next year. So typically you want about half of the money in the bank before you launch a public campaign.
Mhm.
Don't ask me why. I am the wrong person to talk about, especially like big university campaigns. I don't think it motivates donors. I think smaller, directed, focused campaigns like this is what matters. So I would imagine maybe at the start of, when is the 50th technically? Is it next year or the year after?
It's next year's, and
year.
the kickoff is April 8th, 2023.
All right.
But we're going to be
So-
doing a little teaser trailer.
Mhm.
Look forward to 2023 in September. Well, October. It's actually October, October 1st, at the conference.
So my hope is if we go gangbusters and have a bunch of pledge cards that get us hopefully half of the way there, announcing in April, I think that's perfect. I love the timing of that.
Mhm.
Susan?
But that's the goal is to get, $750,000 pledged by April, right? That's what you're
Yep.
saying.
Yeah.
So I'm
Oh,
going to need everyone in this room to commit to a 5-year pledge. When you're ready to have those conversations, my email is at the bottom. We can have those conversations.
okay.
Susan, you got a question?
Well, I think Deborah just answered it because I'm involved with the regional event here in Prosser. And I just had a meeting with the folks at the IRAC. And basically, we want to start fundraising now. And we talked about a flyer and all of that. So we want to really get going on it. So that's what I'm hearing that we should be doing.
Yeah, fire away. Ask everybody,
Okay.
we are all systems go. The funds are there, the accounts set up, we can accept the money, like everything we can. Yeah, you can get after it.
Okay, great.
So we will have on our WSU Master Gardener Program website, there's currently a page on the Endowed Chair Campaign. So, and we will, it's a summary page. It's similar to what the Spotlight is. On that page, we'll have a link to some tools. These tools that we just shared with you today will be included there. But this group will get an email from me with the tools that we talked about today while we're waiting for that website to be fully ready to roll.
Okay.
And so feel free to share those tools and I'll send a link to the recording. So feel free to share the recording and the tools with whomever you're wanting to share them with.
Right.
Thank you so much for spending your time with us this afternoon.
I agree. Thank you so
Thank-
much.
Thank you. Great presentation. Sorry, I missed a few minutes.
That's all right. You asked great questions. You made up for it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you all.
all so much.
Have a good rest of your day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.